Welcome to Caring Conversations, a podcast for caregivers, care receivers, experts, and everyone in between. We're here to help you and your congregation nurture a culture of care, build up the body of Christ through real stories and practical insights from people across all walks of life and all types of care ministry. And now here's your host and Caring Congregation team leader, Debbie Dellinger.
So I'll say that name again. I have Reverend Kristen Perkins Glover here with me, and she is the pastor at First United Methodist Church Gordon and Cedar Springs United Methodist Church in Texas, and you're in the Horizon Texas Conference. Can you tell me a little bit about your congregation and your people?
Yes, of course, Debbie. It's such a joy to be here with you and talking with the Caring Congregation on the podcast. So I have the joy of being the pastor, as you said, to two wonderful churches. One is kind of they're both rural congregations, so we are not close. The closest grocery store is about 45 minutes away for us. So we are kind of out in the beautiful Palo Pinto Mountains in Palo Pinto County. And one congregation is literally out there. And so I say it's one of the most beautiful places in the Horizon Texas Conference to worship because you're just literally in God's beautiful creation with trees and birds and just a lovely environment. And then we've got First United Methodist Church Gordon that's in a city or town, as we would say. We're town and country. And so, but they're both beautiful congregations, very involved in their communities. And it's just been such a joy to get to know them over the last few years of being their pastor.
It sounds really wonderful, and thank you for being with us. Can you tell me a little bit about your journey to being the pastor of these two churches?
Yes. So I am what you would call in the United Methodist Church a provisional elder, meaning that I am not fully ordained yet to become a lifelong pastor. So I like to describe it as that I am in my residency phase, like a doctor would have to go and do specialization and do a period of residency. And so hopefully this next year I'll wrap that up and be fully ordained in 2027. And so part of being commissioned, though, as a provisional elder is that you enter into full-time appointment. And so this is my first full-time appointment. I was a licensed local pastor before here in kind of northeast Texas at a church called Ector United Methodist Church, southwest of Bonham, Texas, for anyone who knows where that is, kind of close to the Red River. And so served there as two years as a pastor, and then was appointed when I was needed a full-time appointment to begin my residency process. And so that's kind of how I ended up here in Gordon, Texas. And it's been a wonderful two churches to grow and learn as I come into my own, kind of authority and growing as a pastor. But they've been such a gift, and we've been able to do some wonderful things in ministry together. So that's how I ended up here.
And I know that you've been doing wonderful things there, and that's one reason I'm so excited to talk with you today. So one of the things that you did through the Horizon Texas Conference is you took some of your people to a training that was conference sponsored, that was the Caring Congregation Model of Care. And
yes,
you did that in the fall of 2024, almost 2 years ago, not quite. Can you tell me what led you to know about that, how you chose your people to go, who taught it, and what it meant for you and your churches and your communities?
Yeah, so it is. I'll do my best. But yeah, when I was appointed here in July of 2024, one of the things that became quickly apparent to me is that both of my congregations had just been through a really difficult season of disaffiliation, meaning we had community members that chose to move their membership elsewhere. And so we had just experienced a lot of loss. And but we also had lots of church members that were caring for one another in the midst of that. That's a passion of these two congregations, to care well for one another. And so specifically at First United Methodist Church in Gordon, it became clear that we were caring, but not really all in the same direction. And so that just some of their systems that they had just kind of fallen apart through that season in the life of their church. And so, as a retired deacon here, Brenda Weir, said it so beautifully, we just needed to harness our care. And so
Yes.
we heard through Reverend Joy Dister Dominguez, our kind of point person on maximizing care and healing here in the Horizon Texas Conference, that they were going to be offering these trainings through the caring congregation to help form care teams. And I went, this is it. This is how we do this, right? We have people that are out caring for their neighbors, caring for one another, doing these things. We just need something to kind of bring us together and give us some training how we can, again, harness that care so that we can maximize it, right? And so 5 people, wonderful members of my congregation, were willing to take that journey with me and go to the training in Granbury, Texas, October of 2024. And that's where we met the wonderful Reverend Karen Lampy, and were able to participate in that workshop and training with her and learn about congregational care ministers and how to kind of harness our care so that we could be more effective and meet the needs of our congregation and community.
Well, you certainly had the best teacher out there. Karen Lampy, Reverend Karen Lampy, was the senior executive pastor at Church of the Resurrection, where she developed this model of care. And then when she retired as an elder in the Great Plains Conference, she formed a not-for-profit and an extension ministry of the conference to go and to train congregations and pastors, laity, whether it's United Methodist or any other denomination, in this model of care, so that we can, one of our mottos is to care like Jesus cares. So you were trained, and then what happened when you came back? It was a 2-day training, I imagine, at Granbury?
Yes, that's exactly what it was.
And
yes.
the 6 of you came back, but you commissioned 9 out of 10 CCMs, that's what we call them, congregational care ministers, your lay people who have been trained and sent out, so to speak. How did that happen, that you almost doubled in size?
I know. So our team came back, and it was just the right training for us. It was exactly what we needed. And we recognized that there were some people that couldn't attend the training, but were already fantastic caregivers in our congregation that we wanted to be a part of our team. And so we approached those individuals, and they agreed to join us. And then out of that, we kind of formed 5 ministry areas in which we focus on, and they were able to join us in our work, and we got kind of our guides, for congregational care, and read through that material together, and then formed these teams and began to utilize, our training, basically. And so we were able to invite these other congregational care ministers. And it was so wild, because when we formed our team, and as we were forming it and putting all of this in place in May 2025, even before the commissioning of these 10 folks, 9 were, I think, present on the Sunday that we commissioned everyone. That commissioning hadn't even taken place yet, but we were already being called to care, because our community experienced a tornado on May 18th of 2025. And when that happened, I remember that very next morning, Reverend Joy Dister Dominguez, our person in the conference office that's responsible for maximizing care and healing, calling me and saying, "You're not alone in this. The bishop will be calling you shortly," as well as our disaster coordinator, the Reverend Jeremy Bassett, who works for UMCOR, United Methodist Committee on Relief, which is one of our global organizations within the United Methodist Church that helps community through recovery that comes after a disaster has hit a community. And I remember, receiving all those phone calls and starting to really fully process what had transpired and the damage that had happened in our community. And I remember calling Joy back. And this is one of the moments that you're just so stunned by what's happened. Your brain's not really quite gotten there yet. And
Yes,
I
yeah.
said, Joy, I don't really know what to do. I've met with people. I've started to assess damage. I've met with Jeremy, but I don't know how to respond. And she finally said to me, she goes, Kristen, you have a congregational care team. Have
Um,
them call everyone, because I said I don't know if our members are okay or not. I've found some of them, but I don't know if all of them. And she goes, have them call. This is something they are literally have been trained to do. And it was such a beautiful moment that to really see that training come into action, and so they immediately started calling everybody on our rolls and helped me identify some of the members I didn't even know had been struck by the tornado, so that then we could immediately offer care, bring food, and help those neighbors in our congregation that had been impacted the storm, as well as start to help our community neighbors as well.
so you
Yeah.
brought food, and I'm sure you went to them, and that beautiful holy presence and prayer. Were there other things?
Yes.
How were these neighbors affected? Did they lose their
Yeah.
homes, or yeah?
Yeah, so we did have a couple of community members that had total losses, is kind of the
Mm,
terminology that gets thrown around, where their homes were not homes that they were going to be able to be fixed or rebuilt. And so we had two of those in our community. And then we've had, um, as we've partnered with the United Methodist Committee on Relief, really identified at about 35 clients initially that had major damage,
mm,
that they would need help with their recovery, meaning that they didn't have maybe enough insurance. So a lot of people were underinsured for a disaster and just weren't going to be able to meet that gap between insurance and the need to
yeah.
be able to rebuild. We also are working with folks that couldn't afford insurance, and so we're going to have to figure out how to rebuild or repair their homes fully from their own means, and didn't have enough means to be able to do that. And then we obviously had community members that did have enough insurance and were able to recover on their own as well. We had about 100 homes that were impacted by the storm. Um, but really about 35 individuals that kind of were going to need some help in their recovery process. And so our care team was really great in identifying those people that were members of our church that needed help. So we were able to help them get connected to help, as well as they were the literal people that helped us canvas our community to be able to identify with our wonderful ecumenical partners through other
Yes.
churches in our community. To see how much damage had occurred and make sure that then we could connect to those individuals and families with the resources that they would need to recover.
That's amazing. I'm so sorry that that happened to your community. I heard about it at the time, and through Joy, who has been very involved in the Caring Congregation for a while, instrumental in so many ways, she was telling me about this particular community. But one of the things that you've done is ongoing care since
Mm-hmm.
that time. Not necessarily the physical, but maybe the emotional, the spiritual, there may be trauma, there may be different things involved. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so I've continued to work with our community through our Gordon Long Term Recovery Committee, which is kind of a body of neighbors and ecumenical partners that know that recovery for many of our community members is going to last well beyond just a few months. And so we're 14 months out. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that we've done is recognize the need to care for people spiritually and emotionally because of the trauma. It was a communal trauma that we all experienced
Yeah.
together, as well as individual trauma as well. And so, not only have I done pastoral care through this last year with our own congregation members that have been affected, but our caring congregational team has become aware of how can we care for people through this. And so one of the things we did was we started writing prayer cards to our teachers and administrators and folks caring for our children, because we recognized that, and they actually asked us to do this. This is a ministry we had, but then through kind of seasons had stopped doing. And they actually, we had a personnel at the school say, could you start doing this? We really need encouragement right now. And so we started writing prayer cards through our care team to care for those that are caring for our children, which many of whom had been impacted by the storm. And we've also did a community prayer service in which our Gordon long-term recovery team and ecumenical partners helped host, because we knew it was important on May 18th of this year to mark that and have space for our community to grieve the loss and express gratitude for the many people who have come to help our community in over the past year, but hold space, sacred space, right, for us to name the things that we've lost as well, and attend to that grief that is still present with many of us. And then one of the other things our care team has done is we just attended a mental health first aid workshop to determine if we would like to offer a training so that members in our church and community could be trained and equipped in mental health first aid, which means how could I help as a neighbor when I encounter somebody who's having maybe a panic attack or kind of a breakdown of some sort, and how could I guide them towards care and resources to get them the help that they need? Because we've recognized many of our community members are having mental health experiences that they've not ever had before, that are tied to the storm and the trauma that we all experienced. And so that's another way that we're trying to continue to offer care for our church members and our community as well.
That's just an amazing story. The timing, God's timing in terms of preparation, that you were led to bring people to a training, that you already had people who loved to care for others in different ways. There's these 5 teams. I just want to read them. It's the prayer ministry, which
yes.
Of course, one of our things is in all things pray first. The
Amen.
visitation team, greeters and membership. So that's the hospitality, right?
They're separate. We actually,
yeah. Then you have hospitality, and then you have your health cabinet, which is led by a faith community nurse who's a member of the church. That sounds interesting.
Yes, and she's the one that actually let us know about the mental health first aid workshop, and we traveled to a hospital to hear about that, was our faith community nurse. And so she is somebody that, was an RN, is now retired from that, but keeps her license active. And so not only does she connect us with resources through the Texas health system, Texas Methodist Health System, but also we provide flu shots at our food pantry here in Gordon for free because of that connection and a lot of her work and partnerships that she's developed over the years. And then she actually takes everyone's blood pressure every single Sunday morning. If you would like, you can go, so that we can help kind of monitor people's health. And she's actually been able to let some of our members know when they need to go see a caregiver, a doctor, another form of caregiver, right? Because something wasn't, quite right. And so she's been a wonderful person who was already doing a lot, and had lost some of her team members that were working alongside her. And so now we've been able to surround her with a team, and she feels so much more supported. And now we're able, starting to see kind of the fruits of that support system that we now have for her as well. And she's just been a wonderful, amazing person. And she's been a gift to our congregation and continues to be in this now kind of, as I said, new formed team where we've harnessed our care and been able to also offer her more support as well.
It's harnessing the spirit. I can see it in your smile. I want to ask you, when you did the commissioning, you did it, was it last August or September? It was about a year.
I believe it was last August. Yeah, last August.
And you anointed their hands with oil.
Yes.
Correct? And you shared John 21:15 through 19. John's my favorite gospel. Can you tell me what was behind those 2 things in terms of meaning to you, to the CCMs and to your congregation who were part of the body that were part of this ceremony, this commission.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, that was I think our text for the whole service that day, and it's the text where Jesus talks about, it's kind of has a restorative moment with Peter specifically, and as he's again, commissioning, having them kind of healed what many believe, when Peter was the one that had denied Christ 3 times after he had been arrested. And in this moment of restoration, after Jesus's resurrection, Jesus says, Peter, do you love me? And he says, yes, I love you, and he says it, Peter, do you love me? He repeats the question, right, 3 times. And after Peter answering those 3 times, we think, many of us to mirror the 3 times that he had denied Christ and kind of offering healing and forgiveness to Peter in that moment. He says, then go and feed my sheep. And so as I commissioned each one of our care ministers, I said, feed my sheep. Because that's what they've been doing. They are loving God and expressing that love through care and feeding people's souls and spiritual lives, as well as offering many times actual physical care as well, whether it's through a hospitality, and bringing a meal when somebody's been sick, or providing for us hospitality to the teams that have been coming in to do long-term recovery work and providing a meal for them on their first night so that they don't have to worry about that as they begin to settle in and prepare for hard work the next day. All of those things. And so it just felt like a very appropriate scripture and sending for them, for their commissioning. And many of them felt very empowered by it as well.
And the congregation, did they have a reaction? Are they putting in prayer requests and asking for help and telling you when they need visitation or something? Have you had that sort of response where you've built the need and it's the community caring for one another?
Yes, one of the beautiful recommendations that came out of our training was actually in preparing for that commissioning, we did a whole series called The Lost Art of Listening. And we walked the congregation through different ways that we can learn from scripture how to listen not only to God's voice in our lives, but to one another. And also talked about how sometimes that's harder to do than other times. And each week we also had a ministry moment where each one of those teams were able to present what their team was doing, how they were doing it, and how we wanted them to be involved. And so their commissioning was actually at the end of this worship series where we had just kind of revealed to our congregation all the things we were doing. And so since then, the congregation has begun to turn in prayer cards, or meet one of, maybe talk to our prayer ministry lead about, hey, this is my prayer request, or come to me, or shared that with our dispatcher in the church office. All of those things have really begun to come together. And so one of the things that has been such a gift, I think, to our care team is how our congregation also has stepped up and trusted us to care for them and meet them in those moments when they feel like they need extra support. And that's been, I think, a gift to all of us, really.
It's truly a gift. I just love your enthusiasm, not only for the ministry, but specifically placing the oil on their hands so that they can be the hands and feet of Christ to one another and to the community. Now, what I'm excited about as well, I just think you've put together just a beautiful team and a beautiful ministry at your churches, but you're coming to Kansas City for September 10th event that's at the Borgmont Winery in Stillwell. That's 199th Street in Quivira. And it's an evening about the caring congregation, and you're going to be our keynote speaker. You're coming from Texas to do that. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, I am. I'm so excited. I was really thrilled when and Joy had mentioned that she had talked to Reverend Karen Lampy about potentially having us share more of our story with the Caring Congregation team. And very exciting about this event that we're going to get to come to Kansas and be a part of it. And it's actually not just me, but I'm bringing one of my care ministers, my
Oh, wow.
CCM's Joy Bowen, who has a beautiful story, and I won't share any of it because I know that she'll do a beautiful job of sharing it herself. She was actually one of the members in our congregation that was impacted by the storm, but had also attended our training and was already a part of our caring congregational team. And so I'm just so excited to get to be with everyone and not only share my story but also for everyone to hear Joy's story, because she's just a beautiful person inside and out, and I think emulates what I just when I think of who is a caring person, Joy's one of the people that would come to
She
my
is.
top of my mind. So yeah.
She's passionate about it, and it's just wonderful. So this evening is called Flourish, and we cannot welcome. Oh, wait. We cannot wait to welcome you and Joy Bowen to Kansas City for Flourish, which is September 10th at the Bourgmont Winery. It's one of the Caring Congregation's major fundraisers. It's going to be an exciting evening, and if anybody who's listening is interested in meeting Reverend Kristen Perkins Glover and her CCM Joe Bowen and hearing these stories, go to the Caring Congregation website and learn more about the evening. We would love to see you there. And it has been just a delight, Reverend Glover, to see you on this podcast, to hear at least part of your story, and to really be buoyed by your joy in serving in this way. I too am a provisional elder in the Great Plains Conference, hoping to be ordained
Congratulations.
to you too. I had to be quiet while you were saying that because it welled up inside of me.
That's right.
Maybe ordained in the same time frame as you. The conferences are
Oh,
staggered, I know, but that would just be a delightful occurrence if we were both able to be ordained in the
yes.
same year to a full
May
service,
it be
lifetime
so.
service.
May
May
it
it
be
be
so.
so. But in the meantime, I want you to know that I send you my blessings. I will continue to pray for you, your two churches, your team, and your community. And we'll wait for the time that I can meet you on September 10th. Thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you, Debbie. I look forward to meeting you as well, and just blessings. And please receive my spirit of encouragement as you wrap up your ordination process as well. And what a joy it's been to talk with you. And thank you for hearing our story.
Thank you for being here. Have a great day.
Do you have a care story to share? We'd love to hear from you. Reach out to info@thecaringcongregation.org. You can also visit us at caringcongregation.com, where you'll find our full archive of podcast interviews under the Resources tab. While you're there, sign up to receive our weekly care note, and don't forget to follow us on the Caring Congregation Facebook and Instagram pages. Thanks for listening. Please join us next time on Caring Conversations.